So I just got done watching Victory, and you know what? The show holds up pretty well. Too many clip episodes, but man, Starsaber makes such a good hero. Otherwise known as the episode where the Maximals hack the neighbor's pay-per-view stream, this one involves them spying on the Predacons just in time to catch them getting into an argument amongst themselves, and in the resulting firefight, apparently blowing themselves up and ending the Beast Wars. This is an interesting setup for an episode, though the fact that this happens 12 episodes into a season, that's a little bit weird. Now, I guess when you're a kid and you don't know how long a series is going to go, especially when you're in this phase of like episodic episodes where this could have happened, you could be watching this, this could be like the 20th episode you've seen, and you could, okay, all right, one season and done. Maybe this is how this ends. In hindsight, of course, this is not over. If you get to this episode on your DVD set, you'll wonder, wow, man, I wonder what all the other 14 episodes this season are about. It is a little bit weird to see the Maximals doing so much spying here. It's a little bit more underhanded than I'm used to the good guys acting. It makes perfect sense. Okay, and they're in a war. I'll give it to them. It does make it just a little bit weird. I'll just say that. The explosion itself, there's a few questionable things about it. It's big enough to completely wipe out the Predacons and be felt from the Maximal base. The Maximal base feels the shockwave, but the dark side seems completely intact, and everything inside is obviously shaken up, but not like ruined. So I'm not sure how, it's a weird explosion when it shakes the Maximal base from that far away, but it doesn't destroy the base outright. We've seen an explosion in this series that will destroy the base outright, and it doesn't seem as big as this one. I'll just put it that way. So it's just like a weird little thing. Also, once again, this is an explosion big enough at the base that it should have set off the Energon. No one's really mentioned what happened to that. I assume at this point it's gone. They severed it. There's no other explanation anymore. So there's interesting things going on in the plot here. The setup itself is, like I said, it's interesting because we get to see what happens when the Maximals, win. Their priority is salvaging drive parts so they can fly off the planet. That's not what's on everyone's mind. The most interesting aspect in this is Rat Trap and Dinobot. This is the beginning of their playful bickering with each other, what they're really known for, and the dynamic that they will have for the rest of their time together in this show. Where they're trading barbs with each other, the way you would expect. Though it starts off with Dinobot being really somber and not really playing along, and it's because he himself goes on interesting little retrospect here, a little bit of self-examination. He seems sad for his lost comrades, even though he was their enemy now. It's still the Predacons he fought with and traveled with. So there is still a little bit of lingering connection there that I think he's coming to terms with in this episode. Also, you got to remember, there's a warrior's honor in there. So when this is how the war ends, there's something in him that just probably is not entirely satisfied. Rat Trap brings up the point that he is a soldier and there's no more enemy to face. So what's he going to do? But it's not. But he's also expecting Dinobot to stab them in the back still. So he still does not trust Dinobot completely. Which, okay, fine. That's Rat Trap's character. He's not going to trust him completely for a long time, and even then, it's still questionable. Dinobot gets poetic for the first time here. He gets Shakespearean for the first time here. So we get to start to see a side of him that's more intellectual. Let's not say intellectual, but more complex, where he's more than just honor and combat and wanting to destroy the Predacons. Remember how adamant he was that the Predacons need to be destroyed, and now that they are, he's self-reflective over it. So it brings out a different side of him. And his solution to this is he doesn't, if he goes back to Cybertron with everybody else, he's just going to be seen as a criminal. But if he stays on the planet, he'll doom himself, which they point out. But for that time, he will be like the alpha predator on the entire planet. Okay, so he gets to rule a little bit. So there is that much of a Predacon still left in him. In the previous episode, he seemed like he didn't want to be forgiven for his crimes. So I guess that kind of plays into it. So he doesn't want to face them, but he also doesn't want to be forgiven for them. So I don't know. It's an interesting perspective and an interesting stance to take. And all of that is great. Even Primal in this episode is really good. Like the way the way he's kind of this like calm understanding about things. The way he kind of tells off Rat Trap about what is going on here. He is very respectful toward Dinobot's choice, even if he does not agree with it. He's trying to be like he's trying to watch himself around him because he knows Dinobot's going through something here. That part of the episode I think is really good. It's everything that follows Dinobot saying his goodbyes to the Maximals that gets on my nerves. Everything else in this episode falls apart. Dinobot happens to walk across the chasm where the Predacons are hiding, just as they are giving exposition as to what their plan was and what they're about to do. Just so happened to start talking about it. Now, keep in mind that they shouldn't have to ramble about their plan. They would have gone over it themselves a dozen times over, but now we're talking about it again. Because the viewer has to learn about it, So this is a really blunt force trauma way of getting the viewer to realize what's going on the Predacon side of the story. And it's super convenient that Dinobot just happened to walk over the one spot where they are hiding as soon as they were actually talking. Now, it's a plot convenience for the episode. I get that. More plot convenience. The plan here is they're going to wait for the Axelon to be repaired, and then they're going to storm the ship and take it over so they can go into orbit and collect the stasis pods and make it a Predacon army. Okay, fine. How do you know when the Axelon is finished repairing? Because the only reason they start charging toward the Axelon is because they spot Dinobot and they start chasing him. And then we ask ourselves, why is Dinobot running toward the Axelon to warn the others about this ruse when he could just use a communicator, just tap his comm and like talk to them? There's a little bit too much convenience and contrivance going on in the second half of this episode for me. Just too many pieces that are just there because they have to be for the plot to work, and none of it really makes sense. When you stop to think about what's going on, it doesn't work. And that's unfortunate, because the beginning of this episode plays out well. Even if you buy into, like, oh, wow, this might be into the Beast Wars, the rest of it is just, I don't know, it just feels off. The ending as well. So the Axelon makes it into the air. It's flying around to an extent. When Megatron inside inflicts too much damage and it starts crashing again, Primal, in robot mode, flies up and with his jets, full power jets, as the strongest jets we've ever seen him fire off, manages to slow the entire ship's crash down. And he's never portrayed as this strong ever again. I don't know how he managed to get it, how this managed to happen. For the sake of, it's cartoon physics here. And they got in a really cheesy Superman reference while they were at it. It's super cheesy, an enjoyable way. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. What bugs me about it is that the Axelon moved forward, and the Axelon gain distance, and somehow it ends up falling in the exact same spot it was before. Just super convenient in that. There's some like weird Mandela effect in my head where I always thought like, this is when they take up their like permanent location. Where they first crashed was like a little different. It didn't have the chasm underneath it. No. Exact same spot. I understand they don't want to animate a whole new area for it, but okay, come on. You're telling me the ship just went straight up and then went straight down, or like circled and then went straight back to its original spot. So there's weirdness. There's a lot of weirdness in this episode. There's a lot of weirdness in this episode. If you pay attention to Energon surges as well, Primal goes into Energon surge way earlier than anyone else. Cheetor stays in robot mode a lot longer. The Predacons stay in robot mode a lot longer. Dinobot has been in robot mode since he first discovered the plan and was running toward the base, and still never suffered from Energon. No. Like I said, there's a lot of plot convenience here. A little bit too much for me to fully enjoy the back half of the episode. It's a passable episode overall. The beginning is great, except for the part where you know that it is a trap. And then the second half, I think, falls apart. And you just turn your brain off and enjoy the craziness going on. But beyond that, don't think about it. So that is my look at Victory. A little bit longer because I'm trying to keep these under 10 minutes. But man, there's some stuff to talk about here. And stay tuned. Tomorrow, another episode. I'll see you then. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.